Have you ever wondered why, as the years go by, we feel an increasing desire to stay silent? It's not exhaustion. It's wisdom. It's as if, after living so much, we finally understand that listening is worth more than responding. That silence carries truths words can never reach. In this video, we'll explore a quiet yet transformative power, the power of listening, and how, by embracing silence as a way of life, we discover a new way to love, understand, and live with greater peace. If you're in the prime of your life, this reflection is for you, because now is the time to harvest everything life has taught you. And perhaps the greatest lesson lies precisely in what remains unspoken, but deeply felt. Get ready. This video may change the way you relate to those you love, to others, and to yourself. Because listening more and speaking less is an act of wisdom, and wisdom, like life, only reveals itself in silence, the noise of the world and the silence of the soul. We live in a time where the noise never stops. From the moment we open our eyes, we're bombarded. Phone notifications, messages that never stop coming. News shouting tragedies, people talking about everything all the time. It's as if the world is afraid of silence, afraid to pause, to listen, to feel. But what if what truly matters can only be heard when everything else falls silent? Think about it. When was the last time you were truly silent? Not the awkward silence of a dying conversation, but the living silence, the kind that brings you closer to yourself. The silence of the soul. Because silence isn't the absence of sound, it's the presence of awareness. It's when life whispers, and for the first time in a long while, we actually hear. The ancients knew this. Monks in temples, philosophers in town squares, elders sitting on porches watching time go by. They weren't just resting, they were listening, not to the noise of the street, but to the echoes of their own existence. In silence, we discover what noise hides, our true emotions, the longing we pretend not to feel, the memories that never had time to resurface, the pains we ignore, and the answers that were inside us all along, but could never speak because the world was shouting louder. The soul isn't a tantrum-throwing child. It doesn't slam doors or demand attention with screams. It speaks, softly, with tenderness, with truth. And only those who slow down can hear it. And maybe that's why, as we age, we feel an ever-growing desire for quiet. It's not loneliness. It's not apathy. It's the natural wisdom of maturity. It's the soul asking for space. Have you noticed this? How after so many live stories, we start to cherish the sound of rain on the roof, a bird singing by the window, the sigh of a loved one falling asleep beside us. It's in these details that life's greatness resides, and only silence can amplify them. So if the world is pushing you toward more noise, do the opposite. Turn it off. Disconnect. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath and listen. Because in the silence of the soul lies the most important voice of all, your own. The wisdom of listening, how hearing with the heart changes everything. When we truly listen, we see others with our hearts. How many times have you heard someone say, "You're not listening to me"? But you were right there, facing them, looking at them, even responding, and yet they still felt unheard. That's because listening goes far beyond just staying silent while someone speaks. True listening is an act of presence. It's as if you're saying, "Right now, you are the center of my attention. I am here, fully, just to hold space for you." And that, my friend, that changes lives. The husband who listens to his wife without interrupting. The grandmother who hears her granddaughter without lecturing. The father who, even when exhausted, stops everything to listen to his son. These small gestures are bridges of affection, of trust, of love. As we age, we learn that what hurts the most isn't what was said to us, but what someone failed to hear. The words we swallowed because we felt no one wanted to listen. The silent tears that no one noticed. Listening with The heart means seeing those tears. It means sensing the pain that wasn't spoken. It means reading the eyes when words fail. And here's the thing. Sometimes nothing needs to be said at all. Just your attentive listening, your calm gaze, your genuine presence already says, I am here, I care. In today's world, where everyone wants to give opinions, advice, quick fixes, listening without judgment is a rare gift, and those who offer this gift receive the most precious thing of all, the trust of another's soul. Remember that time someone listened to you without rushing, without checking their phone, without cutting you off mid-sentence? Remember the peace you felt, the sense of being valued, respected, loved? Now ask yourself, how many times have you been that person for someone else? True listening is a gift we can all cultivate. It doesn't require education, a degree, or a certain age. It only requires surrender and the willingness to put someone else at the center, even if just for 5 minutes. Maybe today, after this video, you'll choose to do things differently. Close the newspaper, turn off the TV, look into the eyes of the person beside you, and ask with sincerity, how are you? Tell me. Today I just want to listen, because sometimes what heals most isn't what we say, but what we allow the other person to say, without rush, without judgment, only with love. Silence is the answer. When staying quiet is wiser than speaking, not every question needs an answer. Not every provocation deserves attention. Not every truth needs to be spoken. At least not right now. There are moments in life when the most powerful response is silence. How many times have you regretted words spoken in anger? Words said in the heat of emotion, that wounded, that pushed people away, that still echo in someone's memory. In youth, we always want the last word. We want to prove we're right, to shout our reasons. But with time, we learn that peace is worth more than winning an argument, and that sometimes silence isn't weakness. It's strength. The strength to hold your tongue when it wants to lash out. The strength to take a deep breath and realize that in that argument, there are no winners, only two hurting hearts. Silence isn't passivity. It's wisdom in motion. It's choosing where to spend your energy. It's knowing that often, the best response is time. And make no mistake, this doesn't mean staying silent in the face of injustice or abuse, but rather knowing when to speak, how to speak, and most importantly, if it's the right moment to speak. The elder who listens to an impatient young person and simply smiles, the wife who chooses not to snap back at her irritated husband and offers him coffee instead. The grandfather who receives an unfair criticism and responds with a hug. These aren't acts of weakness. They're gestures of someone who understands the value of serenity. Some things only silence can answer. Some pains only silence can heal. Some insults lose their power when they meet no echo. And here's the beautiful part. Silence has the power to break a cycle of resentment. You stop the chain of aggression simply by refusing to join it. You choose higher ground, while others remain stuck in petty battles. In the end, no one regrets staying silent in an argument, but many regret the words they spoke and could never take back. So the next time you're tempted to react in anger, remember this. Silence is also a way of speaking, and sometimes it's the wisest one of all. The power of listening to yourself. What silence reveals about you. When everything around you grows quiet, can you hear the sound within? It's not your breath. It's not your heartbeat. It's something subtler, deeper. It's the voice of your soul. In the rush of daily life, we get used to living on autopilot. We make coffee, pay bills, reply to messages, turn on the TV, talk to others. But how often have you stopped to talk to yourself, not to criticize, not to judge, but to ask with kindness, how am I really? Silence is that mirror. It doesn't lie. It shows what's been stored away for years. Unresolved sorrows, forgotten dreams, words you wanted to say but didn't, gratitude you carry but never shared. In silence, we find ourselves again. And sometimes, what we find surprises us, because the outside world is so loud that we've hidden away inside ourselves without even realizing it. But when you give yourself the gift of listening to your own soul, something begins to change. You realize that irritation wasn't about the other person. It was about you, tired, unheard for too long. You see that fear wasn't the end of the world. It was just your inner child asking for care. You discover that loneliness you feel isn't a lack of others. It's missing yourself. In our later years, this silence becomes even more precious, because it's where we find answers our youth ignored, where we forgive ourselves, where we make peace with who we were, and lovingly embrace who we are now. Sit on the edge of your bed at dusk, close your eyes, take a deep breath, and say to yourself, "Now it's just me and my truth." It might hurt at first, but then comes peace, a lightness, a clarity no outside words could ever give. Listening to yourself is an act of love, and when you learn to hear yourself, it becomes easier to hear others, with more empathy, with more understanding, with more presence, because those who find solace in silence no longer rush to speak, they only long to feel. Silence and empathy. Listening with the heart, not just the ears. Have you ever had someone who truly listened to you? Not just heard your words, but listened with their heart? That person who, without saying a thing, made you feel understood, held, respected. That is empathy, and empathy is born in silence. We often think helping someone means giving advice, solutions, answers. And the greatest help sometimes is simply being there and listening without judgment. Because when someone opens up, they aren't always asking for a way out. Often, they just need a safe place, just the right to feel, just someone to say, without words, "I'm here. You can speak. I'm listening with an open heart." In youth, we talk too much. We interrupt, argue, try to prove a point. But with time, we learn that listening without rush, without distraction, without ego, is a gift we give to others and to ourselves. Because when we listen with empathy, we build bridges. We bring hearts closer. We heal old wounds that maybe no one else saw, but that you, in silence, helped soothe. Take a simple example. A grandchild telling, for the 10th time, the same school story, or an elderly friend reminiscing about their youth. You already know how it ends. But if you listen with care, with attention, their eyes light up, because being heard is being valued. It's feeling like your existence matters. In the silence of true listening, you learn to feel what the other feels. To understand what wasn't spoken. To see that the tears held in their eyes speak louder than 1,000 words ever could. Silence becomes an embrace, acceptance, presence. And sometimes, it's in that very moment that healing happens. Not because you said something profound, but because you said nothing at all and were fully there. Silence has a special sound when filled with empathy, the sound of human connection, of one soul touching another, without noise, without hurry, without interruption. So the next time someone comes to you, before thinking of what to say, just listen, not just with your ears, but with your eyes, with your chest, with your whole heart. Because listening with empathy is one of the purest forms of love. Silence as the answer. When saying nothing says everything. There are moments in life when the best thing to say is nothing. Have you been there? Someone provoked you, and you had every sharp word ready on your tongue. But you took a deep breath, and chose silence. Not out of cowardice, but out of maturity. Because with time we learn. Not every provocation deserves a response. Not every injustice needs to be corrected with words. And most importantly, not every pain is healed with speeches. Sometimes, silence is the most powerful answer. It shows self-control. It shows you have nothing to prove. It shows that peace is worth more than being right. In youth, the impulse is strong. We want to retort, defend ourselves. argue. But when life teaches us, through falls and fresh starts, we discover that the truly wise are those who know when to stay silent. Here's a hard but necessary truth. Not everyone is ready to hear the truth, and that's okay. Holding back your words in these cases isn't avoidance. It's protection for them and for you. Because words, spoken in anger, cut like swords. And even when we apologize later, the wounds sometimes stay open forever. But silence doesn't wound. It creates space. It shows you're above the argument. It preserves what can still be rebuilt. Think of the I. Times a fight escalated because no one was willing to stay quiet. Two people battling to have the last word, neither truly listening. Now imagine if, in that moment, one of them had chosen silence. Maybe the fight wouldn't have started. Maybe love would have spoken louder. Maybe the relationship could have been saved. With maturity, we learn to use silence as a tool of wisdom. A father staying quiet to listen to his child. A wife holding back to avoid fueling an argument. A friend staying silent to let another vent. Silence isn't absence. It's presence, refined. And when used with love and awareness, it becomes respect. True listening, peace. Next time you feel provoked, remember, I could respond, but perhaps my silence will say more than 1,000 words. That's the power of those who've lived, of those who've learned, of those who understand that sometimes silence is the soul's wisest cry. Silence in relationships, how it strengthens the deepest bonds. You know those moments when two people are together and don't need to say a word, yet feel more connected than ever? That's rare and precious. It's the kind of connection only time and silence can build. When we're younger, we feel the need to fill every second with words. Lull in conversation feels awkward, even uncomfortable, right? But as the years pass, we realize the strongest relationships are those where silence is also welcome. It's in silence that glances speak volumes, that simple gestures show care, that presence feels unhurried, that peace exists without the need to impress. Picture an elderly couple walking hand in hand, not exchanging a word, yet completely in sync. Or two old friends sitting side by side, watching the sunset, sharing a lifetime of memories without needing to speak. These silences are full of stories, full of love, full of meaning. Because silence strengthens bonds, it shows the other is accepted exactly as they are. No performance needed, no obligation to entertain. Silence also teaches us to respect another's space. Not everyone who's quiet is distant. Sometimes they're just processing emotions, working through what they feel, needing a moment of their own, and honoring that moment is a profound act of love. Many fights could be avoided if we learn to stay silent at the right time and listen with an open heart. Not everything needs to be resolved in a long conversation. Sometimes a hug, a gentle touch on the shoulder, cup of coffee made with care and left on the table speaks louder than any rehearsed words. True relationships aren't rushed. They breathe. They know how to wait. They recognize that in difficult moments, silence can be fertile ground where love grows deeper roots. And when life's noise tries to pull us apart, it's silence that brings us back together. So next time you're with someone you love, don't fear the silence. Don't rush to fill it. Embrace it. Because this silence, when shared with presence and affection, is a soul-to-soul conversation, a language only mature hearts know how to speak. Inner silence, how to quiet the mind and hear your own truth. Close your eyes for a moment, take a deep breath. Now tell me, when was the last time you listened to your own soul? Without rush, without guilt, without distractions. The outside world screams, the demands, the tasks, the memories, the pain. But inside you, at the core of your being, there's a silent place, a refuge, a sacred space no outside voice can touch. There lies your truth. Inner silence isn't just about being quiet. It's a profound practice of returning to yourself, of calming the mental storm, and finally hearing what's been pulsing within you for so long. With maturity, we learn that peace isn't out there. It's here in the heart that knows how to grow still, in the mind that observes without judgment, in the spirit that understands timing. When you quiet your inner world, you realize many of your anxieties were just echoes of voices that aren't yours, others' expectations, inherited fears, pressures you never chose to carry. Then something magical happens. You begin to truly hear yourself. You discover dormant desires. You recognize wounds needing tenderness, not haste. You realize what you called exhaustion was just longing for your own presence. Inner silence is the first step toward healing. To access it, you don't need a temple or distant travels. Just pause for minutes, close your eyes, and listen. Listen to your body, perhaps begging for rest. Listen to your heart, perhaps asking for forgiveness. Listen to your intuition, perhaps screaming silently for years. Don't fear what you'll find, because even if there's pain, sorrow, or regret, your strength is there too, your light, your wisdom. Going silent within is an act of courage. It's realizing we don't need external answers. When we're at peace with what resonates inside, and believe this, no one ages peacefully without making peace with their own mind. So today, take time for yourself. Turn off your phone. Sit in a quiet corner. Breathe. Close your eyes. Just be with you, because in this silence, you're not alone. You're whole. And when you reunite with yourself, everything around you begins to make sense. The power of listening without interrupting, a rare gift in today's world. Have you ever talked to someone who listens, yet you feel they're just waiting for their turn to speak? They're not truly hearing you. They're preparing their response. Nowadays, everyone talks, but few listen, and even fewer listen with their heart. That, my friend, is a talent, a virtue. Rare gift, listening without interrupting, without correcting, without immediately offering opinions. Seems simple but requires emotional maturity. And this wisdom usually only comes with time, with years, with pain and lessons. In youth, we're eager to speak. We want to assert ourselves, give advice, show what we know. But with maturity, we understand, not all silence is empty. Sometimes it's a bridge for others to cross their feelings safely. Listening without interrupting says without words, I'm here for you. You can trust me. Say it all. I won't rush or judge you. When we do this, something shifts. The other person opens up, feels seen, feels held. Sometimes a child doesn't need a lecture, just an attentive ear. A grandchild doesn't need advice, just a story shared with care. A partner needs only a present silence that says, I'm here by your side. True listening transforms. It calms. It heals. But it requires a choice to stay silent. In this interruption-filled world, that's almost an act of rebellion. So next time someone speaks to you, try this. Breathe deeply. Meet their eyes. Don't cut in, don't hurry them, don't jump to, I've been through that too. Just listen. And watch what happens. You'll be amazed by the power of real presence. You'll see tears of relief, smiles emerging. After sharing, gratitude in the eyes of someone who finally was heard. Because listening without interrupting gives others what we all seek: respect. And in this silent exchange, you don't lose your voice. You gain connection. When silence speaks louder than words, the comfort of presence. Have you ever been with someone who, without saying a word, made you feel embraced? That kind of presence that needs no explanation, no questions, no commentary. It simply is there. With you at the right moment, at the right pace, with a whole heart. Because sometimes, the greatest comfort doesn't come from words. It comes from presence. From silence that respects pain. From a gaze that understands without intruding. From a hand that holds yours, even when no words suffice. And that, my friend, is a form of love only maturity truly comprehends. In youth, we rush to fill emptiness with hurried phrases. It'll pass. God has a plan. You need to be strong. But with time, we learn that silence too can comfort, because true solace doesn't need to fix the pain. It only needs to fit inside it, to stay close, without rush, without judgment, without lectures, to simply say, without words, I can't change what happened, but you're not alone. And here's the thing, often that's all people really need. Not explanations, not solutions, but companionship that lets pain exist. Unmasked. This silence isn't empty. It's full of love, of respect, of real presence. If you've ever lost someone or watched a loved one suffer, you know what I mean. Sometimes a quiet hug says more than 1,000 well-meant words. Sometimes, sitting beside someone in silence is more powerful than any speech. And if you've ever done this, congratulations. You've offered something rare, you've offered soul. Let us never underestimate the value of loving silence, the kind that doesn't try to solve everything, but chooses to remain even when everything seems to crumble. Because, in hard moments, words may fail, but silence can save. A new way of living begins with simple silence. So, take a deep breath, close your eyes if you can, and just listen. The silence surrounding you now isn't empty. It's presence, it's pause, it's wisdom. Perhaps today, for the first time in a long while, you're truly hearing yourself. And that is already the first step toward great change. Because when we learn to listen, the world shifts. Relationships transform. Life unfolds differently. If this video touched your heart, if you felt silence could be a path to healing and rediscovery, then don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone you love, a child, a grandchild, a friend, someone who needs to hear, but may not yet know the power of silence. And if you want to keep walking this path with us, learning, reflecting, growing stronger in wisdom, subscribe now. Before you go, leave a comment. I choose the silence that heals, so we can keep meeting each other in this peaceful space we're building together. Until next time. And remember, you don't always need to say something. Sometimes listening is the greatest act of love.